that communication is the key to great relationships. But the hard part is how to communicate. Our guest today, Delee D'Arcy, is going to give us some actionable communication tools to help boost your success in your relationships. Delee is the men's communi coach. For years, she's been passionate about helping men communicate well with those who matter most. And
Mhm.
she's noticed that unspoken inner conflict and anger outbursts are the primary problems in marriages. Delee helps men in relationships reset their GPS. When the stakes are high and the finish line gets close, Delee's course correcting shift program is the key. Intuition, empathy, and humor, plus 30 years of personal and
Mhm.
professional experience, bring her shift program alive. And add in a healthy dose of humor and in your face straight talk to round out the whole package so you can jump start your dream life. That's definitely Delee. Delee will teach you to adjust your timing, to check your pressure, and to know why you need to refuel your emotional energy. And as a men's coach, Delee provides a woman's perspective while honoring your role in life and in the family. She received her master's degree from the University of Houston Clear Lake in marriage and family therapy. She's had 28 years as a couples therapist. And she's worked in the advertising and travel industries. And she's also a certified clinic coach. Delee is a person in a relationship as well, and she uses her own tools because communication is a key factor in whether relationships beat the odds or crash and burn, which is why I am so excited to have you on the podcast today, Delee. It's wonderful to have you here. Welcome.
Thank you, Carissa. It's so good to be here. I'm delighted.
Oh, I'm so glad. Well, tell us a little bit about how you came to do this particular work to focus on communication and really to focus on helping men communicate in relationships.
Well, in grad school, obviously, you talk about talking, and one of the things that always stood out to me in looking at theory was Paul Watzlawick's um, theory of communication. He worked with Don Jackson in the Palo Alto Project, and the phrase "you can't not communicate" was just such a powerful phrase for me. That do you remember that one? And
I
it's
don't, but that is so powerful. You can't not, like, we're communicating no matter what, whether we say something or we don't say something, we're communicating.
absolutely, and I
Oh,
believe I don't know if it was him, but they took meta communication, just that bigger communication, and so as I would work, I in so I loved that. And then in the work that I would do in the agencies where I would work, I got sort of the difficult clients. I would get the people that nobody else wanted to work with because they were angry or they were so difficult. And I'm like, bring it. I love working with them for some reason. I wasn't afraid of them. I resonated with them to a degree because we all have that inner, pressure cooker thing going on at times. And so it just evolved that I really got connected with hearing what they weren't saying and then giving voice to it in a way that, it was almost like watching people melt in their chair. Um, in fact, a story just popped in my head. I was working with an adolescent, maybe 15 years old, and his parents were in the room. And he kept saying, I don't know, I don't know, and I don't know. And, the parents were just sad and scared for their kid. And all of a sudden it hit me, and I said, do you not know, or do you not know how to say it? And
oh,
oh my goodness, that young man like melted in my chair. And I thought, that's it. That is it. We are not teaching, not in a mean way, but we are not teaching how to communicate effectively And it just, and then I came to realize not just men, women too, but in particular men. And that hurt my heart, you know?
Oh my goodness. And what a story. What a
Mm-hmm.
powerful moment for you to see beyond the words, for you
Yes.
to see beyond the I don't know, and to name that thing that, like you said, we're communicating no matter what, but sometimes we just don't know how to find the words, or we don't know what words to say, or like that young man in your chair didn't even know how to articulate what was going on inside.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
It
oh.
was it was a pivotal moment for me.
And
And then I feel bad for the people before who like didn't get that from me, but now it's like, okay, so there we go.
yes, it's a process, isn't it? It's a process of developing those tools, the tools that you teach your clients, the tools that I teach my clients, that we have to come through that in a process, that we can't just wake up one day and have all the skills. It's constantly
Wouldn't it be
growing and
nice?
changing.
Yes,
And
yes.
how cool that there was something in you already that you loved working with these clients that other people didn't necessarily understand how to work with, but you had these innate skills of, hey, anger is okay. And you knew how to be with it and sit with the person beyond that anger.
Yeah. And
Wow.
yet, and yet, I didn't grow up in that situation. As a kid, anger was not an okay thing to express.
Huh. So what made the difference for you?
Well, I think it was an evolution. Obviously, because I couldn't, and now looking back in retrospect, I'm able to see this. Obviously, I couldn't at the time, but for me, I was always the girl who cried. Oh my God, I cried. And yet it's just a simple release, whether it's here or whether it's here, it's a release of everything that's, building here internally. And so it probably wasn't until grad school. No, it was before that. I remember feeling so much and being asked, "Are you mad? Are you angry?" And then it would almost be like slam the cabinet door and go, "No, I'm not angry," you know, because I wasn't clear and people couldn't understand what I wasn't saying. And so, in retrospect, it's obvious I was living through that process that I really don't want my clients to have to be burdened with, you know? And so getting clear about saying, I'm sad, I'm lonely, I'm hurt, I'm passionate, I'm joyful. Amazing. It's learning a new language, you
It
know?
really is. And it sounds like you understand this because in some regard you've been there. You've had the experience that you're not permitted to express your anger, and then the experience, if I'm understanding right, and then the experience of not knowing how to express your anger. And so it sounds like you had to learn these tools for yourself. Is that right?
It is. It is, you know? And I, I'm not proud, but I could be that ragey kind of driver that felt personal if somebody cut you off or drove too slow. I'm a little embarrassed to admit that. And yet, who of us, most of us would be embarrassed to admit that. So, um,
And I'll
total
admit it, I've been
vulnerability.
there. I've been there too. I've had that
Okay.
road rage, and it's that
Okay.
place where when you're in your car, no one else is around, you can release the anger and nobody sees.
Yes, yes, absolutely, absolutely. So let's just give permission to everybody to acknowledge this happens. It happens to all of us.
Oh, oh my gosh, what a gift. Yes. To have permission that that is
Mhm.
just a human emotion and we feel it. The reality is, as humans, we are going to feel anger sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely,
Um,
absolutely. Just like you feel everything else. But why are we so afraid of anger?
yeah, why are we? Do you have any insight in that?
I, 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 yes. I mean, I think that we're told you can't be angry Also, we're also told you can't feel what you feel, men in particular. And I will make a little shift there because I think that when you have, let's imagine that you and your husband are, like 3 or 4 years old, and I'm generalizing, but you're driving your little trikes down the sidewalk, and all of a sudden you both tump over, and people are going to rush to you and go, "Oh, princess, are you okay? Let's go fix it. Let's kiss your little boo boo," and whatever. And with boys, it's like, "Suck it up, boy. That didn't hurt." And the
Mm.
little boy might be looking down, going, "Oh my God, there's blood and there's bones." But I'm hearing you say that didn't hurt, so I have to stuff it. And you learn, maybe like I did, you learn to stuff that emotion.
Mm.
And once, in the beginning, you can stuff it down to your toes, but then you keep stuffing it. And then, it gets here or it gets here, that
Oh,
lump in your throat, you know?
yeah, yeah. Like I'm almost imagining like, a stuffed animal, you're pushing the stuffing down. You can start pushing the stuffing just in the toes, but then the stuffing rises up the body until there's no room left. And then the stuffing can start to
Yeah.
burst at the seams.
Yes. Yes. That's
Oh,
a great way to look at it. Yeah.
yeah.
It's a sad way. It's a sad that we have to look at it that way, but you're absolutely right. It's a great way of looking at it.
Yes. And then you come in and you help take the stuffing out in a way, or you help someone learn how to take the stuffing out in a way that is comfortable, instead of, as you were expressing before, that either it comes out through the mouth as rage, or it comes out through the eyes as tears, but that it can come out in a way that it's you don't feel overstuffed, and maybe
Mm-hmm.
you're not hurting somebody else in the process.
Yes. Oh, yes. Oh, absolutely.
uh,
Because think about a pressure cooker.
yeah.
If you don't have that release valve, pressure cookers used to just scare the heck out of me. But if you don't have that release valve, they can be very dangerous. And it's that release valve that slowly, like a tea kettle or whatever, it slowly and appropriately lets off steam. Isn't that what we do when we say, right now I'm really angry? And if I'm really angry, it came out as easily as I'm really sad, I'm really excited, I'm really bored, then it normalizes it across the board. And it's okay to go home and say, I had a little bit of road rage today.
Oh, wow. What a great analogy. And so
Thanks.
you call yourself the communicoach, which I love. And it's this merging of communication and coach, which is really what you do. And so it sounds like you come in and you show your clients where the steam valve is.
Mm-hmm. I do. I
Huh.
do. It's speaking it.
Speaking it, speaking the words,
Mm-hmm.
communicating the words.
Mm-hmm.
How did
And Carissa, I love it. The idea of a coach. We get coaches for many, many things. I had a coach for many years at my gym. I had some hip issues and I was working towards some surgeries and stuff. And so what he did was he strengthened me, but he also watched and he tweaked. And he would, it wasn't like we were reinventing, well, we were, but in a way reinventing me, but not like redo, completely redo, cellularly. It was like, you need to move your feet just a little bit, or you need to sit back on your heel, or you need to grip differently. And so that is what I think I do. I take that awareness of communication, and it's like we just tweak it.
Wow, that's so powerful, because I think sometimes people, like when they come say to therapy, they feel overwhelmed by the process, or they don't really know what's going to happen. And here you are describing this idea of coaching where it's really about working together, and you are observing, you're giving tools, but you're also observing how they're being used and just giving little tweaks along the way, so it's not overwhelming.
No, no. And most people honestly have the skills and they use them already. I call them transferable skills because if you stop and think about it, do you you may get angry at your boss, but do you go off on him the way you might go off at your family or kids or siblings? No. Why? Because a there would be a bad ending potentially to that. We don't go off on checkout lady who's rude to us, but because we can hold ourselves in check, we make a choice to do so. And I think that is a skill that we just forget to use in our homes. I often ask people like, so I'm going to teach you about active listening. And they're like, yeah, I think we learned that at work. Yeah, we talked about that. And I'm like, why aren't you using it? Oh, I didn't think about that. Transferable skills.
Yes, yes. And so many people in our audience, they may be entrepreneurs, they may be business owners, and they may have learned these skills. So if you're listening, think back if you've learned these skills that you use in work or you use in your work relationships or you use to build relationships with your clients, but maybe you're not using them at home. How brilliant, Delee, this idea of transferable skills to mine your life for the things that you already know how to do, but just take them from one place and put them in another.
Yes.
Ah,
Yes.
that's incredible. How powerful.
It really can be. It's not super. I mean, there's still some tweaking to be done, but if they believe that they're not starting at ground zero, we got it. We got it.
Yes. Yeah. So this isn't like the be all end all, but this is
Yeah.
a piece of how to get there, how to get to this place where you can communicate well, communicate effectively, communicate harmoniously with a partner. So
Absolutely.
what are some other of your favorite tools? What are some of the most effective tools that you love to share with your clients?
Um, I use I use a lot of communication tools, but one that I like to use is timeout, and not in a punitive way, like you're in timeout, but more like if you're in the midst of a argument, or you see that something's going downhill, then either one can call a timeout. But, and there's rules. The person who calls timeout, like me, if you and I were having an argument, I'm like, Carissa, I really need a timeout. I need 15 minutes minimum, 24 hours maximum. I need 15 minutes to go and get a drink, take a breath, and then I want to come back to you and complete our conversation. So let's say I called 2 hours. Then 2 hours later, because I called timeout, I'm the person responsible for approaching you and saying, I'm ready to continue our conversation. Is this a good time for you? Because you may have gotten into something and you can be like, sure, it's good, or give me 5 minutes to wrap this up and then we can continue. So because what happens, if one person is always the one who's walking away and the other is always chasing after, like, talk to me, talk to me, talk to me, this reassures the person that I will come back and give some grace to the person who needs some space. And so it becomes such a powerful tool. But I always encourage people to practice ahead of time before there's a big argument, because you don't want to learn how to use your fire extinguisher when there's a fire on your stove. So practice with something stupid, because I'm always like, I don't care if you laugh at the things I tell you to do. I would rather you laugh than argue and go, Delee is ridiculous. Fine, I'll be it, So it's really an amazing tool to use.
It sounds so beneficial because let me see if I have the rules right. So one partner gets to ask, whoever realizes like things are going off the rails here. So one partner gets to ask, and then the other partner has to respect the timeout. So one person calls it, the other person respects it. And then there are parameters in that there is they communicate how much time they're going to take until they come back. The partner who calls timeout communicates how much time they're going to take. And then when they come back to the other partner, they ask, is this a good time can we continue this conversation? Did I get all of the
You,
all the
you
roads?
got it. You heard it well. Good active listening.
Yay! Well,
Yeah, you got it.
I am a therapist, so I have a
I
little bit
know.
of a cheat.
That's a transferable skill too. Look at you. You're covering the bases.
Oh, yes, I get a gold star.
Yes, you do.
I love that timeout because the things that I know about how the brain works, that when we're activated in that state, when, if I get triggered and I get angry with my partner, I'm in this state of activation where I really don't have access to my executive functioning. I don't have access to be able to be compassionate and understanding and even maybe listen to what the heck he's saying. I'm just overwhelmed and activated. And so to take that space, but for both of us to know we're going to come back to this, like, I'm not leaving you, I'm not going to go away, and you never know if I'm going to return, makes it's like a win-win because everyone's getting their need met, and then you're both getting that space to calm down.
Yes. Yes.
Oh,
And it just rebuilds trust that we can finish a conversation, because ultimately what happens is people have the same argument, but then they pull in that last one that wasn't resolved and the one before that that wasn't resolved. And so it gets to be, how a golf ball looks on the inside? That's what those arguments. You don't?
I've never seen the inside of a golf ball. What does it look
Oh,
like?
it's a jumbled mess. So you can't tease it out. And so it's just messy. And then people don't know what they're arguing about, so it doesn't get resolved. And I don't like to use absolute words like never gets resolved, but it seems like it never gets resolved because it just builds and builds. This allows them to say, let's resolve this one and take it off the table, so that the next time we have an argument, it's a clean issue about, this and not all of the stuff.
Oh, how valuable that is, because it is so easy. It's so easy to pull in every bad thing that's ever happened in the relationship.
Yeah.
I was thinking too, as you were describing that this is such a powerful tool in partnerships and in romantic partnerships and marriages and relationships, but also, as you were using the example of if you and I were in an argument, great for friendships, for your family members, but also
Yes.
in business. If something happens in a business relationship where you get triggered or you get overwhelmed with anger or emotion, that you can still use this tool of, let me just sit on this conversation for 24 hours and I'll get back to
Mm-hmm.
you tomorrow, or
Mm-hmm.
some other way to let yourself take a break so that you're not coming into a business relationship where there are different kinds of high stakes, where you
Right.
could disrupt that relationship because of overwhelming anger or other big
Yes.
emotions.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's universal.
It's universal, and the transferable skills can go both directions.
Yes.
Yes.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
So Delee, what would you say? What do people get wrong about communication?
Oh, wow. Um, One thing I think that they get really wrong, this is a big one. I kind of see myself as like a language sociologist, just like digging in. And when people say, I feel like blah, 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 I
Uh-huh.
feel like that plant needs some water, Carissa. No, you don't. You believe the plant needs water, but if I couch it with, I feel like, especially in the South, then, it's like, oh, you can't argue what I just said because I'm just telling you my feelings. And I'm like, there was not a feeling there. You didn't tell me you were mad, sad, glad, or scared. You told me that plant needed water. Does that make sense to you?
It sure does. Yes, that people are say they're feeling things, but it has nothing to do with feelings. And that
Yes,
maybe they're doing it in a way because they're afraid to make a direct request.
possible. It's possible.
Huh.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I hadn't, thank you. I hadn't thought about it from that perspective. I had just thought about it from the other person's perspective, because it's like I can't argue that anything, this chair is yellow. We could argue that back and forth. Yes, it is. No, it's not. Yes, it is. No, it's not. But if I say, I feel confused that you see it as yellow, that's very different than I feel like you're wrong.
Yeah.
Because that's judging you. I'm just telling you how I feel, man. So, yeah. So that is a big one right there. Is not using the words correctly, or not, and then maybe not knowing what
Yeah.
words to use. You know. So I think it's really very strongly about learning the language.
Yeah. As you were saying that too, I was thinking of the courage it takes to be able to name your feelings, to say, I feel sad because this plant is turning brown and I love this plant and we haven't been watering it, is very different. And it takes vulnerability to even just say, I'm sad about the plant, rather than just, I feel like this plant needs to be watered.
Right, right. And that also brings up a key point, particularly because I do work with men, is that men are invited and encouraged to be vulnerable, to tell me how you're feeling, share your feelings with me. And then it's frequent that I hear that that doesn't get responded to well, even by spouses. And I think women don't mean that badly. We want that connection, but then we don't know what to do with it when men practice being or try to be vulnerable. And so, wow, that's a setup for failure for both of them.
Oh,
And that hurts my heart too, because being able to say, I don't feel well, or I'm confused, or I'm overwhelmed with how to take care of all of this, you know? So, yeah, that one's a tough one too.
so if you had one recommendation for men and one recommendation for women, if we're talking about heterosexual partnerships, what would each one be?
Oh gosh. For men, that's easy. Is and this is a key phrase, is, are you listening to hear or are you listening to solve? Because many women will get upset, me, I will, if I know what to do, but I just need to vent, but I'm not clear about that. So honestly, this goes either way, is that men are knights on white horses in the shining armor, and they want to run in and grab the graph paper and the pencils and the calculator and like, here's your solution, you know? And you and I, we are smart women. We have degrees. We've been doing this stuff, whatever, for a long time. It's like, I don't need you to solve this, right? And so then they're like, I don't know what else to do. And so my notion for them is simply ask, if and again, this can go either way. If a woman is starting to talk, for a man to say, do you need me to listen to solve, or do you just need me to listen? And if she says, I just need you to listen, lean back, I got this. Tell me everything, because then I don't have to have my solution cap on. But I'd also challenge the women, start out by saying, I just need you to listen. You don't have to solve a thing for me. Or, you know what? I really need us to sit down, and will you help me brainstorm? Because, okay, clear communication. It is so easy in that way. And I guess the one other thing that I would say is, change doesn't have to be huge. That I often say 180 degrees from wrong is not right. It's just different. And so sometimes all it takes is a quarter turn of a screw. And I'm just right down the street from Johnson Space Center, NASA. And so, all it takes is probably, I don't know this for sure, I'm guessing 5 to 10 degree shift in the Hubble telescope, or that new amazing telescope, to give you an immensely different perspective on the universe. And so if that's all it takes there, imagine that that's all it takes here. So you don't have to reinvent that wheel. You just tweak it a little, and that's what I help people do.
Wow. Wow. Just a few degrees different, and your perspective is completely changed.
Mhm.
That's incredible. I was thinking too, as you were describing that, of asking, what was it? Do you want me to solve this or do you want me to listen? Can you say the phrase you said again?
Mhm. Do you want me to listen to solve, or do you want me to listen to hear?
Do you want me to listen to solve or do you want me to listen to hear? And I was thinking, we are talking about how, men do often, to more generalize, are looking to fix naturally. But I can say, as a woman, I've done that too. So I know it goes both ways, both
Mhm.
genders, that I also sometimes, my husband might be sharing his emotions, but I'm just, well, do this, do X, Y, and Z, and it'll all be fine. And
Mhm.
so I, as a woman, need to take that in too, to ask, do you want me to listen to solve or do you want me to listen to hear? What a
Yeah.
powerful tool. What a helpful tool of communication, of simply communicating, asking, what is it you want? And then for the other person to also say, this is what I need here. I just need you to listen to hear today.
Yeah. And that's a great point. And it's been one of my struggles because I do love working with both men and women. And so, it's just, it becomes a challenge. But I think, if you narrow it down, then men, I am really drawn to this much more. But you're
Yeah.
right, it's universal.
Yeah. Yeah. It
Mhm.
is. Yes, and it's wonderful that you are taking these tools and supporting men in feeling more confident and comfortable in their abilities to communicate and to give them the tools to be able to put words to things that they haven't necessarily been taught how to say.
Yeah,
Mm.
yeah. If I could add one last thing on that, it's if any of, and I'll generalize to all of us, if any of us were taking a job in Italy, moving there, gonna start a new company, we would learn Italian. And so, if you're going to be in a relationship and want to communicate effectively, learn the language of relationship. You're not going to use it at the gym. You're not going to use it on a fishing boat. You're not going to use it on a rugby field. But if it works in your relationship and it makes your relationship pop, use it, learn it, and use it.
It's worth it.
I think so. I do. I really
Yeah.
do. Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah, it's worth it to be able to speak Italian when you go to Italy. It makes
Exactly.
the whole experience different.
It does. Yes.
Oh, so Delee, if there is one thing that you wanted the listeners to take away today from this conversation, what would it be?
Try one thing different. If you want change in your relationship, be the change. Obviously, I didn't create that. But the idea that if I'm waiting on someone else to change their behavior before I do anything, there's a stalemate going on. And so for me, if you do one thing different, your partner cannot respond in exactly the same way they always have. So that would be a takeaway.
Oh, and that is really helpful. If you want the change, be the change. Take the
Yes.
responsibility and do something.
Yes. Yes.
Thank you for that. That's empowering. That it's take the action, go for it, do it.
Yes. Yes. I
Yeah.
love that. I just love what I get to do.
Oh, and what transformative work you do.
Mhm.
Absolutely. Your clients are so lucky to have you in their corner.
Mm.
Mm.
Thank you.
And that being said, how does someone find you? Someone who wants to work with you, how do they find you? What's the best place to connect with you?
The I'm in a lot of places. On my website is www.DeleeDarcy.com. There is an apostrophe, but not in the website. I'm on Facebook. I'm on Instagram. I'm on LinkedIn, and I'm on TikTok even as your communicoach. And or you can email me, Delee at DeleeDarcy.com. And what else? Yeah, those. I think I've covered the bases.
I think you have. I think definitely we can find you. And I want to spell out your website. It's DeleeDarcy.com. That'll all be in the show notes, so you can find it there. And
Awesome.
even more special is Delee has an incredible booklet, what you call it, a booklet, a free guide to
Free
give
guide.
to you, a free guide, 3 action steps to get results today to argument proof your relationship. Is that right?
I'm so proud of it. Yes, yes. And I would love to just promise that if you take those steps and you do them consistently, if they don't work for you, call me, because honestly, I need to tweak some things for you. But I do believe I almost promise that they will work 100% of the time.
Wow, they're that good. So these sound like 3 of your most effective tools, tools that work for your clients, tools that work for you, and you are sharing them as a gift to the listeners.
I am.
Oh, thank you for that. And if you want to download that free guide, you go to Delee's website. So again, it's DeleeDarcy.com/3-actions. Did I get it right?
You did. You did. Thank you.
So go and download that right now. I know I'm going to go and download it right after we finish recording this episode, because
Awesome.
I want to apply those tools to my relationship and my communication. And I'm so excited to do so. Delee, it has been an absolute joy and pleasure to have you on the show and to hear about these incredible tools that you have to offer us and that you offer your clients.
Thank you. It's been an honor and an absolute delight to be here today.